You know Set as the villain of Egyptian mythology, the jealous god who murdered his brother Osiris. And that's real. But here's what almost nobody tells you: for most of ancient Egyptian history, Set was not a villain at all. He was a respected, even beloved god, a defender of the sun, a patron of pharaohs, a necessary force in the universe. The transformation of Set from hero into devil is one of the best documented cases in history of how politics can rewrite a god. This is what really happened to Set. To understand Set, you have to drop the idea that he was simply evil, because that's not how the Egyptians originally conceived him. Set was the god of the desert, of storms, of violence, of foreigners, of disorder and chaos. Now, to the Egyptians, the desert was a frightening place, the Red Land, barren and deadly, surrounding the fertile black soil of the Nile Valley. But it was also part of their world, and its forces were real and powerful. Set embodied all of that wild, dangerous, untamable energy. And crucially, the Egyptians understood that this kind of force was not simply bad, it was necessary. The world needed strength. It needed a god powerful enough to face threats that gentler gods could not. Set was that god. He was enormously strong, fierce, and aggressive, and when those qualities were aimed at protecting Egypt, they made him a hero. He was depicted by a strange, unidentifiable animal, the Set animal, with a curved snout and tall square ears, a creature scholars still can't conclusively match to any real species, which only added to his otherworldly, chaotic nature. For the people of Upper Egypt especially, Set was a major god, worshipped and honored for centuries. He wasn't the exception to the divine order. He was a pillar of it. Remember Ra's nightly journey through the underworld, and the chaos serpent Apophis who attacks the sun god every night, trying to end all creation. Here is the detail that should completely change how you see Set. The god who stood at the prow of Ra's boat, the fierce warrior who speared Apophis and drove him back, night after night, defending the sun and therefore all of existence, was Set. Think about the logic of that. The most chaotic, violent, dangerous god was also creation's greatest defender. And it makes a strange kind of sense: who better to fight the monster of chaos than the god who embodies chaos himself? You need overwhelming force to meet overwhelming force. The gentle gods of order couldn't stand against Apophis. Set could. So for the Egyptians, Set was genuinely heroic in this role, the indispensable protector, the strong arm of the gods, the one being able to hold back the ultimate darkness so the sun could rise. This is why so many pharaohs were proud to associate themselves with Set. Several kings even took his name into their own royal names, like the pharaohs named Seti, which literally means a man of Set, or he of Set. One of the most powerful dynasties in Egyptian history revered Set as a patron. You do not name your god kings after a devil. You name them after a powerful protector you want to be identified with. For 2,000 years, Set was that protector. Of course, Set is not innocent. We can't pretend the murder of Osiris didn't happen. In the great myth, Set is consumed by jealousy of his brother Osiris, and he murders him, seals him in a coffin, and later tears his body to pieces. He's the antagonist of Horus, and he fights a long war to keep the throne he usurped. So why does the same culture that honored Set as a defender of the sun also tell this story where he's a murderer? Because the myth of Osiris served a different purpose. It was about kingship, about the rightful, legitimate succession of power from father to son, from Osiris to Horus. And in that story, Set plays the necessary role of the usurper, the disorder that threatens legitimate rule, the chaos that the rightful king must overcome. Even here, Set is chaos opposing order, but in the kingship myth, that makes him the obstacle, the antagonist. So for most of Egyptian history, the Egyptians held both of these ideas at once, without much trouble. Set was the villain of the Osiris story and the hero who defended Ra's boat. He was a complicated god, dangerous, necessary, both threat and protector, depending on which way his immense power was pointed. The Egyptians were comfortable with that complexity for a very long time. What changed wasn't the mythology. What changed was Egypt's history. Set was the god of foreigners and of the chaotic lands outside Egypt's borders. For a long time, that was just one of his domains. But then Egypt's relationship with foreigners changed dramatically and catastrophically. Egypt was invaded and conquered, more than once, by foreign powers. And as waves of foreign rulers and invaders took control of the sacred land of Egypt, the Egyptians increasingly associated the chaos and humiliation of foreign domination with the god of foreigners and chaos, Set. The god who had once defended Egypt began to be seen as aligned with the outsiders who were now ruling and ravaging it. Over the centuries, especially in the later periods of Egyptian history, Set's reputation darkened steadily. The complexity collapsed. The necessary chaos, defender of the sun, faded, and the villain, murderer, god of the hated enemy, took over completely. And then came something striking: Egyptians began to actively erase him. In the Osiris cult, which had grown enormously popular, Set became a pure object of hatred. Priests and people defaced his images. They chiseled his name and figure off temple walls and monuments. They cursed him in rituals. The same kind of magic once used against the chaos serpent Apophis began to be turned against Set himself, figures of him destroyed, his name struck out. A god who had been worshipped and honored for 2,000 years was, in the later centuries, systematically demonized and partly erased from the record. By the end, Set had become something close to a pure devil figure, and that late, demonized version is the one that survived, got passed down, and became the Set most people know today. We inherited the propaganda, not the original god. The story of Set is more than a piece of Egyptian trivia. It's one of the clearest, best documented examples in all of human history of how a reputation gets rewritten by power. Set didn't change. The same god who defended the sun was demonized, not because of new theology, not because anyone discovered he was really evil, but because of shifting politics, conquest, and the rise of a rival cult. History, as the saying goes, is written by the victors, and so, it turns out, is mythology. The version of a god that survives is often the version that served the people who happened to be in power when the records were finalized. And this should make us look twice at every villain we think we understand. How many evil figures, in myth and in history, were actually complicated, necessary, even heroic in their own context, before someone with a reason to hate them got to write the final draft? Set is a reminder that villain is often a role assigned by the winners, not an objective truth. There's also something deeper here, something the Egyptians grasped early and we sometimes forget. The world genuinely needs its Sets. It needs strength, force, the capacity for violence, not for their own sake, but because some threats can only be met with overwhelming power. The danger was never that Set existed. The danger was where his power got pointed. Aimed at the chaos serpent, he saved the world. Aimed at his brother, he nearly destroyed it. The force was the same. Only the direction changed. And maybe that's the most honest thing Egyptian mythology ever said about power itself. So Set is not simply the devil of Egypt. He's a powerful, complicated god who defended creation itself for 2,000 years, and was rewritten into a villain by conquest and politics. He's proof that even gods are at the mercy of whoever writes the final draft of history. If you want to meet the goddess who was clever enough to outsmart every god in this entire pantheon, including the sun god himself, Isis is our next video. Subscribe, and question your villains.